boastful, and of barbarous manners, because all men are accustomed to dwell upon that which is beloved and admired by them, and because they fancy that others are emulous of that which is the object of their emulation. At the same time, however, they are deservedly thus affected ; for many are in want of the riches which they possess. Whence, also, that saying of Simonides respecting wise and rich men, in answer to the wife of king Hiero, who asked him whether it was better to become a rich than a wise man. For he replied, that it was better to be a rich man, because wise men, said he, are seen waiting at the doors of the rich. They are also thus affected because they fancy themselves worthy to govern. For they fancy they possess those things for the sake of which government is thought worthy of being obtained. And in short, the manners of the rich are the manners of one who is stupidly happy. The manners of the wealthy, however, who have recently become rich, differ from the manners of those who have derived their wealth from their ancestors in this, that the former have all vices in a greater degree, and with more depravity. For wealth recently acquired is as it were a certain inerudition of riches. Rich men also injure others, not from malevolence, but partly from insolence, and partly from intemperance, as when from the former they strike others, and from the latter commit adultery. CHAPTER XIX. Thus, too, most of the manners pertaining to power are nearly evident. For power has partly the same, and partly better manners than wealth. For men in power are as to their manners more ambitious and more virile than rich men, because they aspire after those employments which they are capable of performing through their power. They are likewise more diligent, as being compelled to direct their attention to things pertaining to power. They are also more venerable than severe, for dignity renders them more conspicuous, on which account they are moderate in their conduct. But venerableness is a mild and decorous gravity. And if they act unjustly, it is not in small affairs, but in things of great consequence. Prosperity, likewise, as to its parts, has the manners of the above mentioned characters, viz. Of the noble, the rich, and the powerful. For those prosperities which appear to be the greatest tend to these. And farther still, prosperity prepares us to abound in a good offspring, and in the goods pertaining to the body. Powerful men, therefore, are more proud and inconsiderate on account of their prosperity. Among the manners, however, which are attendant on good fortune, there is one which is most excellent, and it is this, that the fortunate are lovers of divinity, and are well disposed towards a divine nature. For they believe in it in a becoming manner, in consequence of the goods proceeding from fortune. And thus much concerning the manners of men according to age and fortune. For the manners which are contrary to the before mentioned are evident from contrary fortunes, viz. From the fortunes of the poor, the unfortunate, and the powerless. CHAPTER XX. The use, however, of persuasive orations pertains to judgment. For we no longer require arguments about things which we know, and of which we have formed a judgment. And though it be but one person alone whom the orator endeavours to exhort or dissuade, as is the case with those who admonish or persuade, yet that one person is a judge. For he whom it is necessary to persuade is, in short, a judge. And the like takes place whether the oration is directed against the litigant, or against the hypothesis. For it is necessary that an oration should be employed, and that the contrary arguments should be subverted, against which, as against a litigant, the oration is made. A similar method must also be adopted in demonstrative orations. For in these the speech is directed to the spectators as to judges. In short, he alone is, simply speaking, a judge who, in political contests, judges the subjects of investigation. For in such contests, the manner in which things of a dubious nature subsist, is investigated, and also those which are the subjects of consultation. Concerning the manners of politics, however, we have already spoken in what we have said about deliberative affairs, so that it is there explained in what manner and through what particulars we may produce ethical orations. But since about every kind of oration there is a certain different end, and about all of them opinions and propositions are assumed, from which those who consult, demonstrate, and dispute, derive credibility, and farther still, since we have also discussed those particulars from which it is possible to compose ethical orations, it remains that we should discuss such things as are common. For it is necessary that all rhetoricians in orations of every kind should employ what pertains to the possible and impossible, and should endeavour to show that some things will be, and that others have been. The consideration likewise of magnitude is common to all orations. For all orations, whether they persuade or dissuade, whether they praise or blame, accuse or defend, employ diminution and amplification. But these things being determined, let us endeavour to discuss in common what pertains to enthymemes and examples, in order that by adding what remains, we may bring to an end what we proposed from the first. Of things however which are common, amplification is most adapted to demonstrative orations, as we have before observed. But that which has been done is more adapted to judicial orations, (for judgment is employed about these), and the possible and what will be done are most adapted to deliberative orations. In the first place, therefore, let us speak concerning things possible and impossible. If then it is possible for one contrary to be, or to be effected, it would seem to be possible that the other contrary also may be. Thus for instance, if it is possible that a man may be restored to health, it is also possible that he may be diseased. For there is the same power of contraries so far as they are contraries. And if one similar is possible, another similar likewise is possible. And if that which is more difficult is possible, that also which is more easy is possible. If, likewise, it is possible for a thing to be rendered good or beautiful, it is possible in short for that thing to be produced. For it is more difficult for a beautiful house than for a house simply to exist. That also of which the beginning is possible, the end is possible. For nothing is effected, nor begins to be effected, of things which are impossible. Thus, for instance, it will never begin to be possible, nor will it ever be possible, that the diagonal of a square should be commensurable with the side of the square. That of which the end, likewise, is possible, the beginning is possible. For all things are produced from the beginning or principle. If that also which is a posterior in essence, or in generation, is possible to be effected, this is likewise the case with that which is prior. As, if it is possible for a man, it is also possible for a child to be generated, for the latter is prior to the former. And if it is possible for a child to be generated, it is likewise possible for a man. For a child is the beginning, but man is the end of this generation. Those things also, of which the love or desire is from nature, are possible. For no one for the most part loves or desires things impossible. And it is possible for those things to be and to be effected of which there are sciences and arts. Those things likewise are possible, the principle of the generation of which is in those things which we can compel, or persuade. And these are things than which we are more powerful, or of which we are the masters or friends. And of those things of which the parts are possible, the whole is possible. And of those things of which the whole, the parts also are, for the most part, possible. For it is possible for the ornaments of the head and a garment to be made. It is also possible for apparel to be made. And if apparel, it is likewise possible for the ornaments of the head, and a garment to be made. If likewise the whole genus is among the number of things possible to be effected